Okay, I think we are live. Welcome everyone to episode 2 of our Binge-worthy webinar short series, all about Microsoft Teams. I am Joy Apple, also known as Joy of SharePoint, and I have with me Richard Calderon with Pate Group. We're here to talk with you about meetings inside of Teams. I know right now, today, the last 2 weeks have been a bit of a struggle to figure out how to work from home efficiently and with some sanity. So our goal is to present to you some really short webinars to get you going with Teams very quickly. Our last one we did, and the recording of that is available, was just an introduction to Teams. This one we're going to focus specifically on meetings inside of Teams because we know that's a pain point and that's something we're trying to get our heads around right now. So again, I am Joy Apple with Pate Group. I've been in the Microsoft product and technology space for a little over 11 years now. I've had a few different roles, but currently I'm a modern workplace strategist and the lead trainer with Pate Group. Richard is my workplace twin. Richard, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. So again, I'm Richard Calderon, also with Pate Group. Have been with Pate now for about a couple of months at this point, and then now being quarantined at home, just getting an opportunity to enjoy visiting with all of you, obviously virtually in this case. So again, thanks for taking time out of your day to join us. I've been in the Microsoft space for many years at this point now, both on the consulting services side. I was also at Microsoft formerly as a modern workplace specialist. And my specialization, similar to Joy, is centered around the strategic planning for the modern workplace around Microsoft 365, aligning both the technology and the business, essentially. And so got our Twitter handles here on this slide. We'll also show them again later. Please do connect with us. We do like to try to connect with as many of you as possible. And Twitter is a really nice and streamlined way to be able to do that. So kind of moving ahead here briefly, just like we did in the last webinar, before we kicked off into the actual meeting content around meetings today, wanted to just have a couple of different poll questions to just get a little bit of a sense of who's who in the room. Feel free to chime in either in the Q&A. You should see a few links that are in the Q&A that are directly to these poll questions. Or if you have your mobile device with you, you can also just pull out your camera and do a quick QR code scan. It should take you directly to these questions. So I'm just going to do a quick flipping around here at this point so we can get to some of these. So we're getting some responses in here at the moment. We'll just kind of let these roll here for the next few seconds or so. But it's always useful for us to just get an understanding as to who's who in the zoo, essentially. So thanks for responding to this. We'll leave this question open here for a little bit. Looks like we got a number of folks again from the IT Pro side. Thanks for joining us. A number of folks from the management side as well, business. Got an executive here in the room as well. Thank you, welcome. Appreciate you again spending some time with us this morning. Okay, so feel free to just continue to respond to these poll questions as we go along. You can just hit the link at any point in time. Anywhere along the way, we're happy to take the responses from you. We'll go ahead and just switch back to the second poll question here. Second poll question is, how often do you attend or schedule online meetings? So for those of you that are continuously in meetings, you just live in meetings, all the way down to maybe you just never really attend online meetings. More than likely, many of you are at least attending some online meetings now with having to be forced to work from home, if you will. So let's go ahead and flip over to that and see.
Richard, am I allowed to answer that question? Because I feel like I live in meetings.
Yeah, go right ahead. Absolutely. Yeah. We should probably have included in a how useful are the meetings that you tend to attend. But,
I don't know.
But at a bare minimum, we just want to get an understanding as to how frequently you do attend meetings. So it looks like we've got quite a few that attend either occasionally or frequently, a few that live in meetings. That's not uncommon, obviously, as well, too. So frequently, yep, that seems about right. Rarely,
and
okay.
If you never have to be in meetings, would you just drop in chat what your job is and who you work for? Because I'm interested.
Or tell us the secret. Tell us what you guys do to keep your meetings minimized.
Do you have a twin that you send for yourself?
Yeah. Okay, so looking good. Looks like the majority, it seems like, attend meetings frequently and or occasionally, or again, a number that do live in meetings. So thanks for that. And then lastly here, just the third question, just to kind of get a little bit better sense again, where we're targeting some of the information today. This is a multi-select question, so feel free to answer all that apply, but what are your most common pain points today in online meetings using whatever tool you use, whether you came from Skype or you use Teams today, or maybe you use Zoom or WebEx or whatever the tools that are available to you to attend online meetings. Interested to understand what some of your current pain points are there. We'll go ahead and flip back here to see what some of the responses are. And it looks like, get a quick refresh going on here.
Oh, we do have a question of where is the Q&A? Richard, since you're showing your screen.
Sure. Yeah.
Can you highlight
Let me pull this down here, and this will show a little bit behind the covers of what we're doing here in a live event. Hello, there's Stacy. So when you're in the Teams app and you just hover your mouse in any part of the screen, you're going to get this toolbar here that kind of gives you the different capabilities. Or if you're viewing this obviously from the web browser as well too, there should be a panel that allows you to do open Q&A essentially. So I didn't actually open that in a browser on my end. I could do that, but maybe in the interest of time, I'll pull that up when we get rolling here. If there's some folks that are still missing where to find the Q&A. But lastly, again, just kind of looking at these questions for folks that are responding on what are some of the common pain points. Looks like it kind of runs the range here. Okay. Certainly have common issues around sharing information, participating, having an equal voice, accessing shared information. We've got some others, so we'll pull up some of those responses here a little later too. So interested to know what else are pain points for you during online meetings. But thanks for these responses. Appreciate that. Did want to show briefly again before kind of kicking it back over to Joy, a couple of the other links that we do have in the Q&A for you that we thought would be useful. Number one is the Microsoft Teams Quick Start Guide that Microsoft makes available. This is a really just handy 3-pager, 4-pager, I think, you can have just available. You could certainly print it if you want, I guess, and have it sitting on your desk. But just a real quick way to be able to refer to the simple how-tos. So again, we're going to talk about meetings today. We're going to talk about a number of these other capabilities in future webinars as well. And then there's a link also to Microsoft Teams video training. This is on support.office.com. So again, these are really just small bite-sized clips of, again, very simple how-tos in terms of things that you can do in Microsoft Teams. So wanted you all to have those available to you as well. Okay. All right. Fantastic. So thanks for the participation again on the polls. Again, feel free to answer those anywhere along the way as you'd like. And Joy, do you want to go ahead and take over on your side and keep going with the presentation?
So I'm going to start sharing. I think I'll go to my desktop. Scoot you down. All right. So just in case you weren't here with us last week when we did our intro to Teams, we thought we'd kind of do a level set for what the heck is Teams anyway. So Teams is a chat-based communication platform. If you've ever worked with Skype for Business, Teams was built on top of that platform. Some people call Teams Skype 2.0. I think that's a little modest, a little humble. Teams is pretty built out when it comes to features. I might call it Skype 3 or 4.0. So it is built on top of that chat platform, but it can do a lot more, such as give us a hub to collaborate on important and relevant content for our teams. So teams and teams, it feels a little bit like Inception, right? But the groups we work with day in and day out, our project teams, our functional business areas. It gives us this lovely platform to be able to have live events or meetings and a whole lot more. Now we try to get our slides to advance. It's always the best part of PowerPoint. All right, so last week we did a tour of the left rail, starting with activity and then working our way down. This week, we're focusing smack dab on the calendar. we want to look at the features and the functionality that are available inside of meetings. So coming on over to calendar meetings, I promise we're not going to spend all of our time in slides, but yesterday Richard and I were running through kind of the cadence of what we wanted to demo, what we wanted to show, and realized when you're in what basically is a fancy meeting, it's really hard to show off all the meeting stuff. So we did have to be a little bit creative in how we demonstrate the capabilities of meetings. But if you click on the calendar tab inside of Teams, that will bring up your calendar. This is not separate from Outlook. It actually is a view into your Outlook calendar. Anything on that calendar, regardless if it's a team meeting or not, will show up here. Any meetings you already have scheduled, if they are a Teams meeting or a Skype meeting, if you're still running both of those tools, maybe you're transitioning, you can join from Teams. And I've got one of those meetings open. So even before I go into the meeting, I could send a chat message to the participants. Maybe the kids are home because school's not in and they're being just a little crazy. So I could send a message and say, be right there, need to handle something, right? Let folks know you're about to join, but maybe you're going to be a minute late. I can see who's going to be in the meeting before I hop in. And now what I've done is I've got a little bit of a video that I'm going to show you of how to create and then join a meeting, because we can't do that while we're in a meeting. So I'm going to hit play here. This is what the day view of my calendar looks like inside of Teams. I do have Teams in dark mode. It's my favorite way to operate. I guess I have joined the dark side. So when I'm on the calendar, yeah, Richard's a Star Wars fan too.
That's right.
So we're the cool kids. So when I'm on the meeting up top, you see I've got two buttons, Meet Now or New Meeting. Meet Now, I could click that, put some names in, and Teams will just start dialing and try to get people to come in. Maybe warn people before you do that. I don't know. New Meeting, I'm setting up a meeting for us to join in the future. So let me hit play. Uh-oh. Now let me hit play. So New Meeting. This form opens. It's a copy of the form from Outlook. I'm giving my meeting a title. Once I very slowly get that typed out, I'll add my attendees. Notice I'm adding required attendees. So I was going to make Richard join this meeting. I want to pause for a second. If you notice off to the right, I have a place for optional. If I click that, I can add people. By making them optional, you're kind of letting them know, hey, I'm not sure if you can make it, but if you can, it'd be really awesome for you to be here. So it's a great way to use that. I do that to our project manager all the time. So we set up the time. I have repeat options, just like inside of Outlook. I could add this to a channel. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Scheduling assistant. I'm going to pause here again for a second. So in the scheduling assistant, just like in Outlook, I can see what people's day looks like, the day and time, and I'm trying to schedule this. If you want to add people from here because you like this visibility, notice right under mine and Richard's name, I could add another required attendee, or I could add my optional attendees from here. One thing to note, just like Skype for Business, I can add external people to Teams meetings. They do not have to have Teams to join. Don't have Teams, you'll have the option to open the meeting in a web browser. I cannot see the availability of external people, right? It sounds obvious when I say it, but sometimes we're like, wait, why isn't scheduling assistant working? So that might be why.
Okay. Hey, Joy.
Yes.
So Ruth has a question. She wanted to know, I wanted to add in other, was differences between joining the meeting via the web or via the desktop app in Teams?
There aren't really a whole lot of differences in the join experience. I will say, if you go to join in the web, Teams is going to be like, are you sure? You could just launch the app, download here. Other than that, the join experience is going to be very, very similar. Microsoft has done a good job in the parity of features in the app and the web browser. One thing that will be different, we can look at this button in a minute, is if I want to do an ad hoc meeting from chat. I don't have the button just to share a screen without video or audio. I can only do a video or an audio call. So that's a big difference. Otherwise, joining is pretty seamless. Thank you for that question. Yeah, go ahead, Richard.
I would just add in there on that response that also depending on what web browser you have on whatever device, PC or Mac that you're using, could have an impact on the experience that you're getting joining a Teams meeting from the browser. So again, just kind of know that most of the latest browsers, and I can find that information on the web here and share that with you as well, but most of the latest browsers are going to have the full feature-rich experience for joining Teams meetings through that browser. But if you happen to be using an older version of a browser, or some prior version of Internet Explorer or something like that, if you're still one of those that are using that, please don't.
Don't use that.
Yeah, don't. You probably would have some issues in that case, or might have some slightly different experiences, I would say.
Yes, agreed. My preferred browser alternates between Firefox and the new Edge. I'll admit it, I kind of like it. I still go to Firefox because I've got so many favorites and profiles built up there. It's that pain of changing, but Edge Chromium, it's pretty groovy. All right, so I'm going to hit play again, let this video keep going. So I'm sending out the invite, and it did show up on my calendar. It also went to my Outlook calendar. I'm going to join this meeting, and this is that awkward moment when you see yourself on the webcam on your screen. Let me pause this video again for a minute. So notice the Join Now button is still there. So I'm opening the meeting, and Teams is bringing in some options for me before I even join. So look before you join, because Teams will turn that webcam on auto-magically until it learns whether or not you want it on. After a few times, it'll stop turning it on. But at first, it's going to be there. And I will say at Pate Group, when we first switched to Teams, we had some awkward webcam moments, right? One time we had everybody's eyebrows right there in the webcam. So
sorry, couldn't help myself.
It's true. So a lot of people suddenly, hitting their laptop screen to push it back. Now I think we just have Post-it notes over it.
Yeah.
Turn your webcam off if you don't feel comfortable having it on. If you do feel comfortable having it on, but you don't want people to see that maybe you got laundry piled up behind you in your home office, right? Blur your background. That's that middle button. And then your microphone. Maybe you're trying to settle down the dogs still because they're being a little bit crazy. Go ahead and mute before you join. Fun fact, Teams, if it sees several people have already joined the meeting, because maybe you're coming in late or everybody was super early, it will tell you it's going to mute you to bring you in because the meeting may have already started. I love that feature.
So good. I have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Ready? Okay.
I'm so ready.
If the people you want to invite are already guest members in a team, are you prompted for them when you type in their email?
Yes. In fact, it'll even say guest out to the end of their name, which is kind of nice. I will say this. Teams sometimes has trouble remembering some things. This is semi-related to what you asked, but not 100%. Sometimes it will notice people that I email frequently. I just type in a few letters. It goes, oh, you mean Richard? Boom. Richard's not a good example because he works in my company. I have a client named Kathy. We email frequently. We work together a lot. Most of the time I can type in Kathy's name. Oh, you mean Kathy? Okay, here's Kathy. Every once in a while, there's something that happens and it's like, who? I don't know who you're talking about. And I actually have to go put her real email address in. Just an observation.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for one more question?
Absolutely.
Is it difficult to add a PowerPoint presentation to a meeting? Like if I want to do a training class or share PowerPoints embedded with videos?
Not at all. In fact, that's exactly what I'm doing here. I added this video I inserted as media, and I'm playing it. You have the option when you share. I'm trying to think if there's a way to show that. Let me ponder this as I talk. It will ask you what you want to share. You'll have, like I have 2 monitors. So I'll have desktop 1, and that means everything you can switch windows as much as you want, everything will show up. That also means anything you don't want people to see, close it out, minimize it, right? Desktop 2, of course, would be the other monitor. Then PowerPoint, I think, is Teams' favorite. You'll have options to show the browser or PowerPoint, and then it's literally just that one browser window or just that one presentation. If you try to play hopscotch and show different things, people will only see that window you told Teams to show. They won't see you go from PowerPoint to the browser if you told it PowerPoint. I'm going to try to figure out how to demo that as we go through.
Okay. Well, there is one question, which is, I believe people are confused between Teams meetings and Teams live events. The question here is, what's the point of making someone a presenter if in Teams meeting they could share their desktop? Anybody could share their desktop.
Yep. Anyone in a Teams meeting could share their desktop in the meeting. In a Teams live event, that's something like exactly like this webinar, where attendees are muted and only set people can present and speak. There's the Q&A panel, whereas in a meeting, there's just chat. Actually, Stacy here is doing what I think is the most important role in a live event. She's being our producer. So she's making sure content is queued up appropriately so we can display it. So it's a much more formal thing. We used it last week for the virtual North American Collaboration Summit. We could have a lot of people come in and just have that attendee role, not the interact, collaborate role like you would have in a meeting. So I hope that helps. If not, we will, Stacy, we might even write a blog about it.
I like it.
So I'm going to go ahead and hit play again on this video. So you see I've got my join options here, and I click join now. And then you have that really great awkward moment when it goes full screen and you're just looking at yourself until someone else joins. And notice on my meeting toolbar, I have chat. There's my microphone. I could go ahead and mute. That next button to the right is the share. Show participants. I can see whoever was invited. And then in chat. So this I was telling Richard, hey, go ahead and jump in here so people can see what it looks like when someone joins. And notice underneath where I'm typing that message, I can insert emoji, I could throw a GIF, I could attach a document. It's a very rich experience. And then in just a moment, Richard will, here he comes, have his very serious I'm joining the meeting face.
Yeah.
And then we go live. So that's kind of how it works for Teams. Next slide in. We have options. So Richard and I kind of put this list together yesterday. Just want to make sure you knew you had a lot of options when it comes to Teams meetings. You can create Teams meetings from Outlook, either the desktop app or the web, or Teams. And in Teams, the desktop app, the mobile app, or the web browser. You can join from any of those locations. In fact, Richard, I'm gonna clue them in. We're thinking about doing a mobile version and show off some of the cool mobile apps that are out there.
Absolutely.
The Teams mobile app is amazing. If you don't have it, go get it. It's amazing. How do we want to meet? Typically, our meetings are scheduled in advance. We see them pop up on our calendar, we accept them, or we mark them tentative, and then we join when the time comes. You can also do a meet now. You can meet in a channel. I'm going to go show you that real quick. I hope real quick. All right, where am I going? I'm going to this great little demo environment. So here I am Lydia and I'm talking with Megan. And I have my message pane here. Notice this is not Teams in dark mode. This is the standard. Right down here. Uh-oh. Guess what's not here, Richard?
Doesn't show here in this.
So here's the difference in the mobile app. Well, that's because I'm not in a team. Sorry.
Exactly. That you're doing a channel. Yeah, not in a channel.
I had a moment. So if I want to meet now with Megan, I can just click this phone button and start an audio call. If I want to share webcams, because maybe I'm feeling spiffy today, I could click the video call button. So I have those options from chat. Now, if I'm in a team, so I'm going to go to my left rail and click on team. This looks fine to me. The Mark 8 project team, I'm in the general channel. If I wanted to talk to everybody on the team, have a quick meeting, guys, we got a huddle. I can come down here under the new message, and there's that webcam, meet now. And notice I am doing this from a web browser. I can schedule meetings for the channel, and that's exactly what this is. Basically, what this means is I don't have to add attendees on a one-by-one basis. I can schedule it for the channel, and anyone that's part of this team in the standard channel can click and join the meeting. And then let's talk licensing. It's one of my least favorite things to talk about, but that is a necessary evil in this day and age, right? So licensing. To have dial-in options, there's some licensing that needs to be addressed. So if you're on E3, for an organizer to have a dial-in number, or what's that bridge? Is that a bridge or a conference number?
Audio bridge, yep.
Audio bridge, thank you, sir. That organizer needs to have a license that allows that to happen. If you've got E5 licensing in place, that's just part of the package. So that's not an additional cost on top of the licensing. And then next, we have, theoretically, there it goes, more options. So I realized moments before this webinar, I did not actually have the more options menu open up. So if you're in a meeting, and Richard showed a little bit of this on the live event, that taskbar or meeting bar, I could toggle video off and on from that menu bar, change my audio. Here's my share screen button. Can also see my device settings. Maybe for some reason Teams is picking up my computer microphone instead of my headphones. So I could alter that with show device settings. Meeting notes. Meeting notes are awesome. They are available before, during, and after the meeting, and everyone has access to them inside of the meeting. Meeting details basically pulls up that meeting card that has the join Teams information, any dial-in information, the attendees, what else? Date, time, all that fun stuff. Maybe I joined with my webcam on and I forgot to blur my background. I can do that right here. Coming soon, virtual backgrounds. Yeah. That'll be fantastic. I know, right? That'll be so great. Make us feel like we're somewhere fun, even if we're not. Start recording. This is a big deal. A lot of times we want to record meetings just so we can go back and reference it, especially if a lot of decisions are being made or tasks are being outlined. So you can start recording a meeting. An exception to that, so your IT admins, your team admins can decide, can members and channels record meetings or just the organizers, all that fun stuff. Guests cannot, by default, record a meeting if they've been invited into somebody else's meeting. So if you're outside of a company and you're invited to a Teams meeting, you can't kick off the recording. Someone on the inside has to. Recorded meetings are stored inside of Stream. Stream will transcribe the meetings, and that transcription is searchable. It's really super cool, and I want to show you how to find that. So if you're not familiar with your Waffle or your office.com page, it's wonderful. If you're on office.com, or you can click the Waffle. For Stream, you might have to click all apps. And they all in alphabetical order. Yay! So there's Stream. I went ahead and had it open to my home page. To find a meeting that I recorded, it's right here under my content in meetings. Now, Richard, when you do training for folks, like remote training, which is, you know, all the rage right now, is that typically something that you find people like having recorded?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because again, if they weren't able to attend for any reason or something came up, having that ability to go back to that recording on demand, that's a huge bonus of being able to have those meetings be recorded and available automatically in stream.
Absolutely. I'll even find my taskbar again. So this is our page stream. We have our brown bag lunch and learn. So you notice we've got 9 videos in there. Richard actually did our most recent one. So if I want to go back and rewatch the tips and tricks that he was showing us for to do, we've got the channel here and I can go back and watch it. So if you didn't record it, but someone else did, ask them where they're putting that in stream so you can go get to that content. And we're almost done. Stacy, how are we doing on questions?
I've got a follow-on to an earlier question that actually also answers another question that came up. Mm-hmm. So actually, there's a way to get to meeting options now, and this is a relatively new thing that they've added that does give you the ability to switch the roles for who's attending in a meeting to limit what capabilities they have. So if you would go back into Teams and then just open any one of those invites that has a Teams meeting set up in them. And then from there, when you go to, you might have to actually do this in your desktop app, just since we're doing this in the demo in this case here, because there's going to be a slight difference on the desktop app in terms of hitting the meeting options. Yeah, if it's possible for you to show one that you had set up from maybe earlier in the day or yesterday or something like that. But the intent is when you have when you set up a meeting, historically in Teams, everybody in the team had equal role permissions. Now there's an option, so right up in the top there where it says underneath scheduling assistant, there's an option that says meeting options. And when you click that, it's actually going to crack open a web browser. And in this, you have the ability, and it's because you're signed into Teams under that demo right there. You'll have to sign back in. We're doing some flip-flopping back and forth, a little bit of behind the covers here to make this work. But if you can get your Joy Pay group authenticated into Teams there in the browser, specifically, you'll be able to show that. Yeah, bear with us while we're doing all this stuff live for you folks, but definitely wanted to show you the purpose of this. So again, before, everybody in the team who joined the meeting had, unless it was guest access, external access, everybody internally had the same permissions, essentially had the same role. So you all had the ability to take over being a presenter. You all had the ability to be able to start and stop the recording at any given point in time. And that is not as useful, especially when it's large teams. So what Microsoft has included now under meeting options is the ability to define the roles for meetings so that you can effectively say this person is the meeting organizer and or a presenter, or these other people are attendees. And so just know that attendees, and I'll actually share here in the Q&A a link to this information so that you can have a little bit better understanding of these roles. Effectively, what you have is the ability to say that others are really attendees only, which means I don't want them to have the ability to just take over the screen sharing at any given point. And also, that also limits their ability to be able to stop or start a recording as well, too. So I believe there was a question from Philip that asked that question as well, too. I think actually both of those questions might have been from you, Philip. So this is the way that you could effectively say, how do I limit somebody from being able to present? How do I limit someone from being able to stop and or stop a recording? Is you would effectively create the meeting, and then after you've created the meeting, you come back in and set these meeting options to say, what are the roles of everyone? So maybe you just want yourself to be the primary presenter. You can set that up in the meeting options here. So
I got it.
Okay, yay.
It only took forever.
Yeah. So there you go. So there's the what came across from Skype for Business, which is essentially the who can bypass the lobby, and then there's the second option there, which is the who you can present. And you hit that drop down, you can see that from who can present. Again, the default was everyone before. You can certainly limit it to just people inside your organization if you have guests joining the meeting, or you can specify particular people to be the presenter, or you can just say, hey, this is my meeting. I'm the king. I'm the only one who can present. And when you do that, again, when you pull up that link to that support article, you'll see the various, and if you pull that up, I put that in the Q&A, Joy, so that you can just hit that link. You'll see the various capabilities that it effectively limits for the users who you list as attendees. So I think that's probably going to be pretty useful for those of you that have that need.
Now I'm in Inception.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No.
Now there was something I was going to demo.
We have a couple more questions.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. Why do only some meeting invites show a join button? Sometimes the join button is not visible when you look at the meeting on your calendar. Sometimes
Yeah, and I have seen that happen as well. And sometimes it's just as simple as that a person maybe went and pasted it in. And if you scroll a little bit, that Teams invite, the join now invite might actually show up. I have seen that happen as well. And I know that sounds like a very simplistic answer, but I've actually gone back to people and be like, where's our join button? It's in there. You just have to scroll down because they went and maybe got it out of something else and added it in. Check there. Otherwise, if that's a consistent thing and it's just not, no, it's really not there. I haven't seen that. Hey, Richard, have you seen that happen before?
Yeah, it's, that's good. That's a good question. I would say, Microsoft is continually tweaking the user experience on the Teams interface. And so sometimes if the button isn't there, you can certainly right click now on calendar meeting invites inside your calendar in Teams. And when you right click, again, just recently, they just added some things in there, but when you right click, you can also say join the meeting. Now you can also, from that right click, you can actually also choose whether to accept or be tentative or decline the meeting. Again, these are all new, relatively new things that they just released as they're continually improving on the UI for Teams. So that's one potential thing that they're just tweaking and changing along the way.
Okay, if you invite someone to a meeting and they have a calendar conflict, is there a way to record the Teams meeting on their calendar?
Record the Teams meeting on their calendar. Well, I'm presuming we're talking about recording the meeting they can't make. So you could record it and then just send them the link to that. I'm not sure of the wording. You can't record a meeting if you're not in it, so you wouldn't be able to record the one that they're in and you're not. They would have to kick that off. Mm-hmm. Am I thinking about that right?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, I mean the process would certainly be they've declined the meeting, so it's not even showing on their calendar anymore because they're unavailable, and someone who's the presenter would record the meeting on their behalf. And the good news is that those meetings, the recordings show up automatically inside of the Teams chat history, so that particular user could then come back and look at that recording on demand when they had the availability.
Okay, so then they followed up with saying just the meeting on their calendar, not using the record feature. Do you want to take this question offline, maybe?
Possibly, if you wanted to give us send us a little more info of exactly what's going on, because I think we're not clear on which meeting for sure you want to record, the one they're declining or the one they're in. But you would have to use that record feature to be able to record a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the last question, can I unmute hundreds of all my audiences as well with one click?
You certainly can do mute all.
Can do mute all in a meeting.
Yeah, let's see. Well, if I click on that, it's going to mute you, Joy. But here, I'm going to click this really quick and see what happens. Mute everyone in the meeting but you. Yeah, it looks like then it doesn't look like there's an easy way to say unmute for everyone else. So, Joy, if you want to unmute yourself now. Yeah, I'll have to look into that one.
I did get a pop-up that said someone, it didn't name you, but it said someone thinks you're talking too much and muted you. And that's one thing that I have found. That never happens, right, Stacy? I can mute anyone on a call. Sometimes people join with their phone and their computer and you get that crazy echo chamber thing, and I will just go mute whoever it is or mute all if it's really bad. I can't then go unmute them. So if you're on a phone, it's *6. If you're on your computer, it's just that little microphone.
Yeah. But it is nice to be able to mute everyone all at once if you need to.
Power. Absolute power.
And Stacy, I muted you too, so if you're still talking, you'll have to mute yourself here. Okay.
I've got the power too.
She's the producer. You could do anything. I am going to throw up our contact info. So if you want to jot that down, if you've got questions, feel free to put your questions out on Twitter. We answer them quite a bit. You can ping us any way that makes sense for you. We've got our email addresses up here. You can find me at Instagram and Twitter at Joy of SharePoint. Richard, are you on Instagram too, or you just do the tweets?
I am on Instagram, not as regularly though as say Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, but I am out there as well.
Okay. Oh, that's right, LinkedIn. Stacy, I can't believe you haven't yelled at me that I didn't put our LinkedIn information on here.
LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. You know, I do.
I know.
It's my home away from home.
Mm-hmm. So we are definitely out there as well. We appreciate y'all. We have gone over, but I feel like we had some really good questions that were coming in. I hope we have answered your questions well. If we have not, hunt us down. Give us the scenario around your question so we can really kind of dial in and get that answered.
Absolutely. And then do please, if you have the availability on Thursday, join us again. We're going to be doing, what is the Thursday topic? Are we jumping into chat? Okay, awesome. Yeah, fantastic.
Yep.
There's a lot of really cool things in just being able to chat privately with others. If you're familiar with Skype for Business, it's a market improvement in the way that works inside of Teams now. Lots of capabilities that you just didn't have using Skype for Business before. So join us, register for that as well too. We'll look forward to chatting with you then. No pun intended.
Thank you, everyone.
Chat about chat.
Thanks, everybody. All right, have a great day.